Okay, we're on. So, give us a recap, buddy.
Oh, we went out to Ohio this morning and struck out. I mean, we didn't hear nothing off the roost. It was probably about 6:40, 7 o'clock, and Mike's like, let's go to West Virginia. So we came back to my house because, you know, the turkey caller forgot his calls this morning, so we had to stop and get them. And as I'm running inside to get my calls, Mike's standing out here. I come back out and he's putting his stuff on. He's like pointing to the hillside. He's like, there's bird gobbling. I was like, let's go. So we got our gear on, we took off, got, what do you say, probably 200 yards into the woods?
Yeah.
Probably in that neighborhood. And I called a couple times and boom, he fired off. So we moved a little bit closer to where we could see the edge of the field. And there he is. He's strutting back and forth up and down this field edge. So as I call to him, he's getting excited and gobbling. Then two more birds showed up and started gobbling. There's probably 4 or 5 different turkeys gobbling at any given time. Finally, he starts to move off into the field, and these two birds that were gobbling to our left on the hill start to move down in, and they're coming right out the logging road right to us. I'm like, it's about to happen. My heart's in my throat. Mike's getting excited, I can tell, because he's jiggling the camera around a little bit. And all of a sudden they disappeared. They stopped gobbling. They didn't come out the logging road. I never saw them cut to the right or left. Mike said he saw them cut away. So we decided to move up to the last spot where we saw them. Called a couple times and they answered, and they were way out in the field. So we moved probably, what do you say, about 40 yards from the field edge.
Yeah, you're around 40 yards.
And we set up and we started calling. They'd answer every so often, but they weren't committed. I'd hit the crow call, they'd gobble in the same spot they'd been standing in for probably about a half hour. I look at Mike and I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna belly crawl up this hillside and I'm gonna shoot one of these birds. And I crawled probably, I'd say probably about 60 to 70 yards up this hillside, and I could see his head sticking up on the hill. So I crouched down and I called a little bit, and poof, he puffed up into full strut and starts moving back and forth. So I moved. When his head came up, I'd call a little bit, boom, back into full strut. Finally got to within 40 yards of him, and he poked his head up that last time, and I let him have it. And this is the end result. And he's got a gorgeous beard. Mike, come over here. Get in here. This is one of the things you definitely want to share with your friends.
Well, last weekend I told you it was your turn.
It was my turn, and I definitely appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
I did record. I recorded when we thought those 2 turkeys were going to come in. We got a lot of footage of nothing, but there's.
You definitely hear a lot of calling, a lot of gobbling. They're definitely coming for sure. Just they didn't like something or could see far enough that they didn't see the hens, so they decided to turn around.
And there was just way too many calls with them birds not moving. And
like I said, we sat there for at least a half hour, and they just stayed in the same spot gobbling.
so he said, I should crawl over there and shoot one of them. I said, yeah.
Yeah, you should. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna.
So he starts crawling up, and I think, well, I can't come back behind him and film him. I'll mess this up for sure. You know, carrying a camera behind him. So I wait till he gets all the way up there, and he's sitting and he's calling. Nothing's really happening. Then I see him duck underneath a log. And I thought, you know what, I better turn the camera on, because he wouldn't duck underneath that log that would have been easily stepped over if he didn't see something or have a good feeling. So I turned the camera on, and at this point I'm just holding it by the stick, trying to follow him through the woods and behind the trees. And of course he wouldn't walk in a nice straight line for me to film.
I had to try and keep the trees between me and him as much as possible.
So I could just barely see him in between the trees. And then he shot, and of course it scared me, and I flinched the camera everywhere, but we got something. I mean, we'll look at it later. But it doesn't matter. This is what it's all about right here.
I couldn't have asked for a better time in the woods today. This is absolutely fantastic, and this is the first bird to ever come off my property, so I'm pretty excited about it. And thank you for being here and sharing it with me.
I'm glad I had to pee.
Yeah, right now, you and me both, buddy. You and me both. Oh my goodness, I can't get over these spurs.
Those look exactly like the ones on my bird, only a little different.
Just a little different, more lethal.
Look at that.
That's
Man,
a rope.
that's just a gorgeous bird. It's heavy too, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be. I mean, I'm no professional wearer or anything. That's got to be 35 pounds.
It's definitely in the 20 range, that's for sure. I wish I had a scale, I'd weigh it. This couldn't have worked out any better. Other than the fact if he'd have walked right down the road to us like I wanted him to this morning.
He had nice footage on a tripod. It would have been nice.
It would have been fantastic, but no, it never works that way. It's beautiful.
Well, that's one less West Virginia tag soup eating.
That's it. And what time is it? We probably still got time. We can go get yours. It's only 8:50.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It is 8:45 right now.
Way too much has happened for it to only be 8:45.
Yeah. It is 8:45. We've already moved. This is the second state.
Yeah, Joe drove all the way to my house so I can bring him home.
Bring me home to hunt birds here. Oh, shoot. That's fantastic.
Yeah, literally, we was stopping to pick up the calls,
Yep.
and we said, well, we'll give a call while we're here just to make sure there ain't nothing in the backyard. So he went in and get the calls, and I thought, you know what, I better go take a pee. I jumped out, went around the barn. I'm peeing, and all of a sudden I heard a gobble. It was on. I was dressed and ready to go by the time he walked out of the house.
Oh, shoot. If it had happened as soon as we sat down, we'd have killed our bird within 20 minutes of sitting there.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes from time he heard the bird to the time we got there, 20 minutes, game over.
It never works out of the script.
No, never. So instead of shooting one at 7 o'clock, we shot it 45 minutes later.
He said, I'm still learning how to do this stuff, but I have learned one thing. Don't be afraid to move.
No.
Don't be afraid to go after the birds. You got to be aggressive.
That's it. If you can tell that they're staying in the same spot and they're not committed to your calls at all, make a move. You don't have to, make a 100-yard dash to them or anything, but move real slow, call every so often. Make it sound like a hen's moving to them like it's supposed to be in nature. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to stand there and wait on you. Or at least let you get close enough to where they'll come to you the rest of the way. It's worked for me. This is the second bird I've crawled up on like this, and it works like a charm. But you just got to take your time, watch your footing when you step. If you step and break a twig, make a couple soft calls. Make it sound like a hen's digging in the leaves or something. But you can't be afraid to move on them. A lot of turkey hunters say, stay put and wait them out. You could sit all day on these birds and they probably would have never moved.
No, they was not coming in.
No.
No, I was thinking the same thing when you said you should make a move on them. I mean, I was already there.
Right.
It didn't take me long to answer.
You're like, yeah, you should. And I'm like, all right, game on. But man, this is awesome. Absolutely fantastic. So let's go get yours.
Sounds good. I want to get some stills.